Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Sky Point, by the way, to Bill Walton, a part of that awesome open, as always. He was celebrated over the weekend. Hopefully you caught that with his entire family. All right, so it is free agency officially underway, and the Colts are into it. The Colts are gaining. The Colts are losing. They're gaining through free agent safety Cam Bynum, 4 years and $60 million. Hey, by the way, shout out to Bynum Steakhouse. We need a really big piece of protein-filled meat from Bynum Steakhouse one of these days, James. I don't think there's any doubt about that. 4 years, $60 million. For Cam Bynum, stats on Bynum. You got him over there in front of you, James. Let everybody know before we start.
So 4 years in Minnesota. He had 8 total interceptions last year, and in fact, he has not missed a game in the last 3 seasons, 17 games played across the last 3 seasons, so that's good for a health perspective.
Damn right he's staying healthy, baby.
Across his 4 years total in Minnesota, 8 total interceptions, 217 tackles, 125 tackle assists, 1.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 4 fumble recoveries.
Can you get us a big piece of meat from Bynum Steakhouse here locally? Probably not. There's no connection there, is there?
Probably not yet.
Gun. So Cam Bynum is the latest. We shall keep you updated on that. Listen, I'm sorry, and I know this goes against conventional wisdom. And if he's back, I'm not going to sit here. Yeah, I will. I probably will harp on it a little bit. I just don't know if you need all that cash. Do you? Wrapped up in guard play? Am I wrong about that? Because damn straight it hadn't worked so far. I don't know all of a sudden why it's going to sprout a workability for it coming up in year number 9. So if you guys are responding to me, and I know that conventional wisdom on the social media platform X in the past couple of days has been, if you do not believe that Will Fries needs to be brought back, then you're absolutely crazy. I'm sorry, I don't. I mean, you draft somebody, right? Where's Gonzalez? I know that you're bringing back for a lower ticket price Braden Smith, but you drafted Gonzalez in the 3rd round a year ago. Let's start evolving some of these guys. And the old way, and I know you're never truly going to get that out of Chris Ballard, but here's what you need to get out of Chris Ballard, some winning. And the old way really doesn't work, does it? Has it? Have I been lost? Am I now found and it's working? It just doesn't work. So that's been my point all along. It's nothing against Will. I like him a great deal. But if you're going to spend some money, can you spend it on those? I know what you're saying. Well, you got to help out your quarterback. Hey, here's what's going to help out your quarterback. If he hits open dudes, that will help out your quarterback. A quarterback pressure and pressure's given up from a guard position, that's not one of the first things I think about. What, quote, is going to help your quarterback? It's throwing it in the right direction, the general vicinity, the area code of the intended receiver. That's what I'm thinking about, and being able to stay healthy. Like the first 2 things. So we shall see. They still may end up, and I think I'm kind of alone on this, and that's okay. It's not like I've not been alone before. I do a lot of great things all by myself. However, I just think this is one to where if the price tag is going to be significantly robust, then can you figure out a different way? Do something a little bit different? I know you all have to be somewhat cost efficient in all this, but just a little bit something different, maybe. That's all I'm asking. So I'm sure we'll discuss that, Stephen Holder. I think Stephen Holder is on the side of bringing him back. And listen, I get what you're saying, because you do want a solid offensive line. I'm not drastically against that, but yeah, how much money do you plan on sinking in guard positions here? And we've been down that path before, and that's just me. Braden Smith coming back at a lower cost. That's something we'll go over with Stephen coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour. And anything else that may end up dropping, Dio is now a member of the Chicago Bears. Hey, by the way, Jake, if you want to stop by tomorrow and hang out with me at Pivot, you're more than welcome to. I didn't say that to you. Don't be jacking with the wrong microphone over there.
I think we're going to the game tomorrow,
you better
so that
turn
may
that
be
microphone
perfect.
on too, right there.
My microphone's on, I think.
Yeah.
That might be perfect, actually.
I think you should bring Shannon by.
Well, that's
because she likes me a lot anyway.
I know Shannon actually. I noticed the other day it was weird. On the fridge, she has a calendar there, and I wondered.
Am I shirtless on it?
It said pivot for Tuesday, and I'm like, and I thought maybe we were doing low post moves or something, and so now it makes perfect sense.
Well, I need to go to Pivot because my footwork horrible in basketball.
She keeps better track of your remotes than I, so that makes perfect sense.
So yeah, join tomorrow, man. We'll have a good time. I think we're going to go over to the Pacer Bucks game afterwards. So yes, join us.
All right.
That's Jake Query and Company right there. He came back in to check his email that's been down for a month and a half right there. Well done. So anyway, we'll get to that Dio and his situation moving on to the Bears. I think that's something that everybody anticipated, regardless of the circumstances. I just getting back to the whole situation at offensive line, I'm not trying to downplay the significance, but I do think that this Colts team has bigger issues than that with its quarterback, if that makes sense to you. I think there are bigger issues there. All right, we'll follow a lot of what is going on. James will help me keep track as well. Yeah, as far as what's happening, again, Cam Bynum, safety, formerly of the Vikings, 4 years and $60 million. I'll be honest with you, as far as the social media platform X going down, I didn't miss it 1 second. I know a lot of you are going through withdrawals like some addict, but for me, I thought, wow, great. But it is evidently up and running. So we heard yesterday it was Diana Rossini suggested that the Colts are right there in the middle of the whole Daniel Jones conversation. Believe me, if you're having a conversation about Daniel Jones, you are just looking for a backup. I've said this all along. There is no quarterback competition. Can you imagine for a moment the outrage is if you go through the entire offseason and then training camp, and in week 1 of the 2025 campaign, oh, hell, they're going to go with Daniel Jones. What? Come on now. We are going to have to live in a world of us all being drunk if that were to take place. Competition, pushing, adequate backup, yes, because at some point, Richardson's going to be injured. But, and in the adequate backup part I get, I understand it, and that's fine. But damn, competition. There's really only one level of competition going into this year, and that's what they decided when, again, they brought everybody back. And that competition is the quarterback with himself and whether or not he's ever going to be capable of being anywhere near what people expected when they drafted him number 4 overall. That is it. And there's really nothing else. We'll keep track. Cam Bynum is the safety. Lou Anarumo talked with us a couple of weeks ago about what he liked and what he wanted. Obviously, I believe his name was Jesse Bates, right, that went from the Bengals to the Falcons, and that was somebody that they leaned on at safety when they're having good seasons with the Bengals with Lou Anarumo. We'll see if The secondary is even more so of a priority at the corner position moving forward. I did expect them to do that at safety, and I do expect them to do something significant as well at corner. We'll continue to follow that. Justin Fields with the Jets, Sam Darnold with the Seahawks. Again, there's no competition. There's an adequate backup. And this is not new. This shouldn't be lost on you because that's what you had a year ago with Flacco. That's what you had 2 years prior as well. And you move forward because the choice was to do just that at the end of last year. So Colts and free agency conversation we can certainly have, and I'm assuming that the news will continue to fly in here. And Stephen Older's going to join us at the 5 o'clock hour. One of the things that he referenced regarding Bynum is what James brought up, the durability aspect of it. Not missed a game in the past 3 years. And believe me, in the secondary of the Colts, Julian Blackmon being one, it is always, he played through injuries. I hate to even bring him up right now, but dealing with injuries in that secondary has kind of been a rite of passage. So he is a guy that has remained healthy. And that's a good thing. That discussion forthcoming. Brian Evans, the former Hoosier, in the 4 o'clock hour. Hey, IU did what was necessary to do. I think that they've absolutely punched their ticket into the NCAA tournament. You know, some would suggest maybe a good showing against Oregon. Big Ten tournament-wise, coming up next week, whatever. I think that they, to me, have punched their ticket. And it was not a thing of beauty, but it was doing what you needed to do in that moment. And good for them. And then obviously Mike Woodson saying after the game, maybe he's stepping away too early. You know what? For everybody, you're not stepping away too early. Everybody is allowed at some point, I think, about all this to be happy. And I know that you're talking about somebody that played a significant role in the program in the past, in Mike Woodson, that is moving on. And I'm assuming he is not happy about this situation deep down inside whatsoever. But still, everybody else, for once in like a stinking long time, IUI should be happy about it. So unless something catastrophic happens on the so-called bubble, you should be good to go. Now, I guess there's one thing. You look at all these coaches that everybody had marked as what would be necessary. The person Scott Dolson needed to hire. It seems like that they just continue to fall off. They may end up getting to Brad Brownell on this list if they're not careful. I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment. It's not. It's the truth. Probably not. But no, I would agree with a lot of folks. Like, people ask me all the time about it. You know, and people I'm sure ask Brian Evans, who joins us in the 4 o'clock hour, about it as well. But, you know, moving on is etched in stone. There are plenty of good coaches. Seems like Ben McCollum of Drake, I don't know a great deal about him. I know, you know, where he moved in one season, what he has done at Drake in one season. I would also remind that even though he brought in some of his own guys, Drake has been an established product, not just within the Missouri Valley. And believe me, I would know, because they have hit me as an alumni of Indiana State right down there in the junk a number of times in the past, certainly recent history. But they are not just known within the Missouri Valley, but their high level of winning nationwide. That's just a program. Or as you guys like to say or call it, a program. That is a program. It's the way that it is. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Kevin Keats, although Kevin Keats did just go to a Final Four. Thank you, Josh, for that. JMV, I would rather jump off the Colts complex. Now, that I think you would survive that, though. That's not that much of a fall. Then watch Daniel Jones play for the Colts, or maybe get a root canal. Now, that's a possibility, Derek, the root canal. Listen, you're just bringing in somebody to, in your viewpoint, to be an adequate backup. Are you not? That's what you're doing. That's all that really matters here as far as that position is concerned. As I've told you in the past, they are speaking to you to calm you down because one of the buzzwords that you want to hear is competition. Didn't have enough competition last year, so we're going to create competition all over the field this year. And we especially have to have competition at the quarterback. But, yeah, no, the only competition is third-year quarterback versus third-year quarterback. So that's Richardson versus Richardson. Richardson versus himself. Richardson either being what basically 95% of the world have assessed and believe him to be, or surprising that 95% and raising the bar on it. That's the competition. Any other competition is a load. Because we've heard that for so many years, and by now you probably should have that competition. Yeah, I saw that. I don't buy it for a moment. See, Fitz sent me this. By the way, I'm just kind of going off of what some of you guys are asking me on the fly. This is kind of a different day than usual. I'm going to get to basketball, a little bit more basketball in a second with the Boilermaker loss on Friday night at Illinois. Matt Painter joins us on the show coming up on Wednesday, where they are in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. And I owe you a great deal of Pacer stuff as well coming up because they're back at it later on tonight. However, I did see this, the shopping of Anthony Richardson. I mean, come on now. Like I said, if you were going to do that, then why is everybody around? Why are you jacking with any of this? Why don't you become Seattle and just punt the hell out of everybody? Just get out of here. We're done, and we're moving in a different direction. So, to the world's greatest bass fisherman right here from Kokomo, I would suggest that's what you think about, because that's what I think about. If there were any truth to that, then they would have just decided to, as people talk about all the time, blow it up and then move on. And that is clearly what they are not doing. So thank you there, bass fishermen. All right, back to the Pacers for a moment, too. I know that I'm supposed to be, and I guess to a degree I am, disgusted about Thursday and Saturday in Atlanta, to a degree. But what it does do is it backs up what I've talked about all along, is when you have no Halliburton, the rest of the team is complete and utter discombobulation. Now, that aspect is disappointing. Like the first part of that game, you can say, well, it's nice that the Pacers came back and made a game of it. And then the absolute foobar at the end from Miles missing a potential game-tying free throw to whatever Siakam was doing. And then getting all pissed about it afterwards. Needed a three and then going in and dunking. Clearly not knowing the situation, not being aware of the situation. You got 75,000 coaches over there. Can we at least be aware of the situation a little bit? Can one of you 75 dudes, and by the way, ladies over there, can somebody just make sure that everybody is aware? So, while incredibly disappointing, I hate to say it, but with especially the way Halliburton has been playing since the All-Star break, that's what you should expect. Why? Because that is how vital, that is how important he is to this team. Just really everything else does not run the way that it should without him. There are some circumstances, like I thought on Saturday you should be able to get by. And then you start the game and Trae Young's going crazy on you, scoring the basketball. You know, obviously you jump back into it and you make a game of it. You give yourself the opportunity late. And, you know, had you cashed in on that opportunity, we wouldn't be talking about any of that crap right now, but you didn't. And the problem is twofold. One is you continue to slide in the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and you really don't want to do that. And the other part of the issue is it makes you wonder even more the relative health of Tyrese Halliburton. We were told prior to that there are going to be no back-to-back situations for him the rest of the way. Yeah, we didn't know that he wouldn't play Thursday and Saturday. And we'll find out about Chicago coming up later on tonight. Again, that's the first of a back-to-back. And then you get the Bucs, and if you watched the Bucs last night get depanced by the Cavaliers at home, they're also wanting to solidify a targeted position in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. And it's one of those dreaded Tuesday nighters that the Pacers finally got through and won last Tuesday. But keep in mind, this is a Tuesday nighter that's also on, I think in this case, TNT. That's normally not ever any good at all. But this is how, unfortunately, this team looks without the creator, without the orchestrator. And I know I sit here, too. I talk about his defense and that effect that it has, but the hell with it. Nobody is as good as they can be without him. And that has been plainly evident, especially when both individually, and I'm talking about scoring, and making sure everybody gets theirs or is in position to get theirs. Until that's missing at the highest of levels in which we have seen since the All-Star break, you really, truly don't recognize it. And you think that you're going to be able to get by because, Atlanta's going for something right now, too. So it was a massively disappointing weekend in Atlanta. The thing you can't have happen is have this escalate. And again, we're all kind of wondering right now about the present health of Tyrese Halliburton. But this whole losing crap, it needs to stop. It needs to stop in Chicago tonight, and you need to take care of your home court in the second of a back-to-back tomorrow night. This is not at all the springboard into the regular season. We didn't sit here and whine and cry about their schedule and about going to Paris and then 2 games at home and then going out west again. All that whining and crying to look like that in 2 games in Atlanta, you cannot have that continue. You have to take advantage of the end of the regular season. And most importantly, you just cross your fingers and you hope that Tyrese Halliburton is going to be good to go. Because that, I'm not going to say alarming, but surprising, disappointing, his lack of availability in the second of that back-to-back, which really wasn't a back-to-back. It was Thursday, Saturday. Pacers Bulls coming up later on tonight. We'll get into that. Speaking of disappointing, the Boilermakers, IU's had an issue with closing. Purdue's had an issue with closing some too. Had an issue with getting stops, which was evident on Friday night in Champaign, and had an issue at times with costly turnovers. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Brian Evans is going to join us. We'll talk Big Ten. We'll talk IU with Brian. And we have Stephen Holder as we'll continue to follow the free agency. And Cam Bynum, the safety for the Vikings, is a guy brought in. So to keep you updated right now, Braden Smith at a lower cost at right tackle. And Cam Bynum so far. And Dio Dengbo to the Bears. Anything else? We'll see if it transpires over the course of this show. We have stuff to give away. Pantera, this is like a James week. Pantera tickets we have to give away. Didn't they have an album called Hell Yeah? Or a song called Hell Yeah?
No,
Hell
there's
Yeah.
a band called Hell Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. And
Did they come up with a band called Hell Yeah?
The former drummer of Pantera was in Hell Yeah.
It has been requested a couple of different times on the JMV Takeover, Pantera and Walk. That is the most mainstream of the Pantera songs, is it not? Right there, Walk.
It is, yes.
Pantera tickets to give away, and The Offspring. Who's with The Offspring? There's somebody else with them, I think, right? Coming up this summer.
Offspring, Jimmy Eats World, and Newfound Glory.
Jimmy Eats World and Newfound Glory. All right, tickets to both those shows on the horizon, so sit tight right there. Get your thoughts at 239-1070. The email address is jmv@1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Pivots balcony, second floor, across from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Hyatt House tomorrow. It is going to be glorious weather, so don't disappoint me. Let's all show up and have, well, I know it's a Tuesday, one hell of a Tuesday afternoon. Man, this week looks awesome. If there's anybody deserving of this weather, it is all of us together right here this week. Tomorrow, pivots. I'll explain even more so coming up. Your calls are the other side. I've got your X messages because it's working now, emails, and more. The stream, the app, HD Radio at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, my goodness. Classic Motley Crue from James and the re-entry on this Monday. You better crank it. This is good stuff. Can you imagine what they do on B1057 when I play this?
They lose their minds a little bit.
Who cringes up there? I'm going to make them money and get them even more ratings on a Saturday night is what I'm doing. That's what you got to think about, everybody out there. Even when this is playing, or like I played the Ghetto Boys and my mind's playing tricks on me on Saturday night. Just think about that. Don't think about the fact that we're not rolling out
Taylor Swift.
Yes, he said Taylor Swift or whatever is hot today. Hell, I don't even know.
I wouldn't know either.
I'm not playing Dua Lipa. I probably would play Levitating if somebody asked for it, I would imagine, at some point.
She had something with Elton John, I thought.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
Was it Cold Hearted or some crap like that?
Yeah,
something like that?
It wasn't horrible.
Dua Lipa. JMV, does Cam Bynum immediately get a deal at Bynum's Steakhouse? Makes sense to me. Well, I'll tell you what, John, if Cam doesn't, then I need one stat. I don't know, man. I'm feeling it. I guess it's the weather. I got the grill out yesterday out of hibernation. I am feeling a tremendously large piece of meat on the grill tonight. Anybody else with me on that? Rocking some heavy protein. Who's with me? This is one of those days. This entire week is going to feel like that. See Fitch back with me. People sent it to me, and I said, we got to figure that out. And you are a man of the people. Yeah, the whole Richardson thing, I saw that over the weekend too, man. About shopping him at the combine. Yeah, okay. Like, what are you doing? Who walking up? Chris walking up to say, what do you think about this? What do you think about Richardson? You know, all anybody wants to talk about is the fact that he is inaccurate as the guy on the radio in the afternoon. But hell, what do you think? Come on now. Again, if that were to be true, there's no need to be going through all this. And everything would have started new, would it not? So that's where we are. Cam Bynum is the free agent, at least from the team. We know what they did with Braden Smith and his deal, reported by Jeremy Fowler earlier today. $60 million, 4 years. So assuming that is going to be the position that will be vacated now of Julian Blackman. And I believe, did Bynum play corner in college? I believe that he did. And we had talked about the versatility in that secondary that everybody was looking for. So maybe that is it. 4th round selection, if you're asking, back in 2021 out of Cal. And that is a 4-year, $60 million man. The Colts are picking up today. James, go.
He was indeed a cornerback in college.
Gotcha. 26 years of age. And you thought that the Colts would end up going at that particular position of need. We brought up others. But that is the direction that they have decided to do right now. Yeah, JMV. I love your show because you're not scared to call people out and demand winning. I think some people think I'm a jackass, though, Jeff. There's quite a bit of a trade-off right there between calling out and saying it like it is and being a jackass. I think sometimes the water is a little bit muddy with that in mind. Thank you, Jeff. Dio Adengbo going to the Bears. And again, that's something else everybody had thought it was going to be very difficult for them to bring back. No word on Will Fries yet. Like I said, I may be alone in this department, But if he gets a major financial deal from somebody else, then so be it. Left guards, heavy duty, big price tag. You need a right guard that's heavy duty and big price tag. And I know what you're going to say. Well, you need the most that's going to help out your quarterback. I just don't think about the right guard being that specific in helping the need category of Richardson. And I know he's an offensive lineman, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but the biggest need category for Richardson is being able to throw it to teammates. That's the biggest need. And you're going to say, well, the security of having an offensive line, to me it seems like when he's moving around, he's more accurate than he has dependent upon his security of the offensive line. I just think that we've been down that path of heavy spending at the guard position before, and I believe, to me, I'm over it. I think I'm over it. I'm just saying, if we're talking about a price tag that just does not fit your form, then you let it go. And I know it's not as easy as just drafting somebody and putting that somebody in there right guard. You don't have anybody else that can play the position. And really, it has been a very small sample size with a broken leg a year ago. I am just not on that particular page. Jim McCann in Southern California checks in. You've said the most important ability is availability. Bynum absolutely brings that. 17 of 17 games played the last 3 years. JMV, it sounds like Bynum is a really good signing, good player that fits a need. P.S. You're not a jackass all the time. Thank you, BT. I try really hard not to be. I try to make sure that there's some differences there. So you get a new defensive coordinator and you start spending in the secondary defensively. And that is the first step. Dio Adengbo moving on to the Bears. We know that. Braden Smith with readjusting his financial situation to better fit because his number was not going to work prior to. That was Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com with that report a little bit earlier. All right, Brian Evans, top of the hour. Stephen Holder will go over all this as well with us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. It is officially free agency underway. I do want to get your thoughts because evidently Daniel Jones is still right there with heavy interest, according to many nationally from the Colts. Justin Fields going to the Jets. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. Who else am I missing? Garoppolo to L.A. With L.A.
He's sticking with L.A.
Yes. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Fields to the Jets.
Yes.
Darnold to the Seahawks. I think those were the big ones. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Let me go back to the NFL.com.
So, and Seattle just decided to go ahead and reboot absolutely everything right there.
DeAndre Sweat to the Cardinals.
No, there's a new one right there. Yeah. I saw Reddick to the Bucks, Carlton Davis to the Patriots. You mentioned Grady Jarrett, who got cut by the Falcons yesterday.
He's with the
now
Bears
with the Bears.
Yep.
So the Bears working heavily on their defensive line in this free agency period so far. All right, let me take a break. We'll come back. Your calls at 239-1070. I know a lot of you are asking about Aiden O'Connell. I believe Aiden O'Connell is still under contract. And I think you're asking because Geno Smith was picked up by the Raiders over the weekend in the purge that was going on with the roster of the Seattle Seahawks. All right, we'll come back with that. We've got Stephen Holder, 5 o'clock hour. Brian Evans, Big Ten Conference Tournament, the way that the Hoosiers ended the season, and a little feel-good regarding their fan base. James.
I said DeAndre Sweat. It was Josh Sweat to the Cardinals.
So we'll get that update from Stephen Holder coming up here. Who are you thinking of?
I don't know. I don't know why I said DeAndre.
Well done. We get a really good mispronunciation on the show.
I think I combined DeAndre Swift and Josh Sweat. I think that's what happened there.
Yeah. A quick one again. Brian Evans coming up at the top of the hour. Mike Woodson had mentioned after the game to CBS on Saturday that maybe he was leaving too soon. Let's face it, the timing is right for everybody. Now, I mentioned the purge or the reboot they're doing in Seattle right now. I mean, IU needs a reboot too. I'm glad that they're able to treat the fans to a little NCAA tournament action, regardless of what transpires in it. It'd be interesting to see their matchup with Oregon coming up in the Big Ten Conference tournament. Yeah, considering what happened the first time, you had another game that IU was unable to close, which has been a major issue this season. But as far as needing to move on, needing to start, all of that is definitely needs to be done. And it is. But now everybody gets a little, and really, even Mike Woodson from many will get, what do they call them now, flowers? We'll be getting some flowers. He got some flowers on Saturday, too. And now everything's not as bad as it was. And you can go out positionally a little bit better. Fans can have a little bit of happiness. All makes sense. Where the Boilermakers are right now, too. Yeah, Jeff says Swift and Sweat combo makes a hell of a play. She's right there.
They're both former Eagles.
I mean, Jeff's right. He's on top of it. So Dio Adengbo to the Bears. We knew that was going to happen. And Cam Bynum, the safety from the Vikings, $60 million over 4 years to play safety for the Colts. Julian Blackmon's position will be that of Bynum. And we'll continue to follow what's going on out there. 239-1070 is the number. Email address to JMV at 1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Road show on a Tuesday. Can't wait for that. I'll explain. And the Pacers back in action on the road at Chicago later on tonight. We'll get into that as well. It's 93.5, 1075 The Fan.
On drugs. Any questions?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, it's Cam Bynum, the safety. Former quarterback out of Cal, not quarter, but corner out of Cal. Not missed a game. 3 seasons? And he, so far, along with the revamped deal of right tackle Braden Smith, that would be it. Dio Adengbo to the Bears. Bears with Adengbo and Grady Jarrett. So, yeah, working that defensive line in Chicago so far. We shall keep you updated on it all going right now. JMV, it would be so Colts to bring Daniel Jones in and officially have the 2 worst quarterbacks of the NFL leading the franchise, Wes. I got a question for you. Is there another backup that you would rather have here? Just out of curiosity, is there another backup out there that you would rather have? Because we've explained the situation and it's not good. The NFL free agent quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers being one, there's a lot of whispers. Maybe he ends up in Pittsburgh. Jameis Winston, somebody that's been here already, Jacoby Brissett, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Tyler Huntley, Cooper Rush, Zach Wilson, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Gardner Minshew again. Are we getting excited? Who's got a sports arousal out there? Anybody?
Carson Wentz would be hilarious.
Who's getting themselves a little backup quarterback arousal? That's what you're talking about right there. So compare those names with Daniel Jones, just out of curiosity. JMV, the abundance of sunshine is apparently affecting your over-the-air transmissions. A lot of static on the north side of Indy. We can't have that, Damon. Had to move to the crystal clear, silky smooth lounge app. I'm glad you have options for us. Yeah, you know what? Are they still, our former place still bogarting the AM signal, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, probably.
Right. Have they not found a buyer for that yet?
That's above my pay grade.
How's Pat Walsh buying bedazzled jeans then if they can't sell that signal? He's got to be running out of bedazzled jeans by now, doesn't he? Come on. Yeah, some days, I will say this. We give you options for adjustment. That's a damn good thing right there, Damon. Let me take a break. We'll come back. Brian Evans on the other side, the former Big Ten Player of the Year. Where the Hoosiers are, where they're going, his coaching thoughts, Big Ten stuff, Boilermaker conversation, and more. And again, we'll keep you updated on free agency as it pertains to the Colts in hour number 2. I do not want you going anywhere. Pantera, Offspring tickets, separate shows, a couple of tickets to both. Your opportunity to win on the horizon. Go nowhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right. I'm trying to read between the lines a little bit here. You ever had this done to you before? Read between the lines? That's supposed to be somebody flipping you off. Like
really?
when you do your three fingers like this. Like, for example, who's the guy? Is it Ross Porter that is a complete jackass inside our lounge right here? I think his name is Ross Porter.
I don't know that name.
Have you kicked him out before because he's a jackass?
There are other people.
But this
who
is
I
like
know.
the Ross. Read between the lines. You get it?
Oh, I
Okay.
get it. I've never seen that before.
I
but
love
get
everybody
it.
else in there, but that guy's a jackass. So I'm reading between the lines on this. So Aaron Banks, the former Niners guard, is expected to sign with the Packers. And the deal's 4 years and $77 million. So what is that going to mean for Will Fries? So that is a story we'll follow. And again, reading between the lines on that. I mentioned a little bit earlier, Cam Bynum to the Colts. That, besides that of revamping the deal of Braden Smith, is what has been done by Chris Ballard and company so far. Dio Adengbo going to the Bears. That's $16 million per year and $32 million guaranteed. A little bit earlier today, according to Ian Rappaport. What's some latest stuff you got over there? James has more inbound information on free agency. Go.
The Houston Texans are sending 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders for a second round and a fourth rounder that will get sent to the Texans, plus a third rounder this year. Houston is sending to the Commanders Laramie Tunsil and a fourth round draft pick.
All right. That's the latest. James, keep me updated too, okay? Now we're going to veer to a little hoopage right here. Big Ten Conference tournaments coming up this week. IU, Purdue, both going to be a part of it. Both really, obviously, the only, thought is maybe IU's not solidified. I happen to believe that they are into the NCAA tournament. Their first matchup, as Purdue is going to await its matchup, IU gets Oregon, in a bit of a rematch of sorts from a couple of weeks ago in Eugene. This is Cambridge Fieldhouse later on this week. We'll talk about that and then some. The former Big Ten Player of the Year and friend of this show, the former Hoosier Brian Evans, joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm good, John. How are you doing?
It is fantastic to have you back on here. I thought maybe you'd be great live with me tomorrow at Pivot downtown, but I thought we had to have the thoughts of Evans on a Monday coming off of this past weekend and the end of the regular season.
All right. Well, I suck on Mondays normally, but I'm going to step up for today.
Okay. Well, step up. No sucking.
Thanks for
No
not
sucking.
having me downtown. I don't want to. I'm going to come downtown Thursday for the game. Be my first game of the season.
Really?
Well, I went down. I watched them play Pat Knight in that exhibition. I watched them play Marion. I need to go support Pat, but I have not been to a game or last year, so it's been a minute for me. I'm going to go on Thursday, though. I'm excited.
So, what do you think as far as what you have witnessed tail end of the season recently out of this IU basketball program?
Well, I think they got in I'm like you. I think they're in the tournament already. So I think they're in there. I don't think they have to win a game at all to get their name called on Sunday night. So that's exciting.
True. Would you like to add anything else to your level of excitement?
Would you like to ask me a deeper dive kind of question?
I can. Yeah, I can. I had brought this up, and you would know because you're from the Hoosier State, and you played with that program in Bloomington. I thought it was evident that you saw with Leal and Galloway and Goody, you saw some prideful moments with guys that truly deep down understand what it means to be a part of, to participate, and to play at a higher level, sometimes higher than maybe what your actual level of talent might be within that storied basketball program. You agree?
I mean, I think what you asked me is, did we see? Have we been looking at and seeing a better effort than what we had seen? I think yes, but that's also part of the frustration, right? Like,
sure.
If it was there, then why couldn't we always get it? I don't understand. So we're at the tail end of a season that hadn't been a great season, and I'm not, by no means am I jumping around super excited necessarily about the tournament. We should live in the tournament, right? Always be in the tournament. I mean, right now it feels like we're supposed to be excited to kind of backpedal into the tournament. I don't know. I think in the future it needs to be a staple. You know, we're always in the tournament, but we're trying to be a top seed. You know, we're battling for something more. I don't think anybody really believes that we're going to go on a deep run in the tournament. I don't feel that way, but I'm excited that we're in the tournament. It makes it more fun on a Sunday night, and it makes it more fun to look at the brackets if Indiana's in the tournament. I think for sure that's the case for me. And I'm excited about what's coming, you know, around the corner.
So Brian Evans, the former Hoosier on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What have you liked? Give me some things that you've liked about this team as they got into that stretch run of this regular season.
Well, I think, for me, it started at Purdue. You know, you just saw like a grittiness. You knew that they understood what was at stake. They had to play a lot harder than they had been playing, or they were going to get run out of the gym by their rivals. And that was, I think, the first game that I saw, some toughness and guys trying to lock in. I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems as if maybe all the pieces didn't really fit together, or the personalities didn't quite fit together the way you'd hope they would for their team. You know, and we've covered everything in terms of who, you know, we went shopping in the portal. So you're going to bring in guys that, you know, that aren't Indiana guys or really understand, who our rivals are, even that piece of it. So, when you mention those names that you mentioned, those are Indiana guys. I mean, I think Indiana University is always going to be pretty well served to have a good mixture of Indiana guys on the roster if we can. You know, that doesn't mean you don't go outside of the state, but I think historically our better teams have had more Indiana blood and guys that really are playing for that, you know, the name on the front of that jersey.
I guess, and that's one of the points I made that I had brought up to you here at the outset, is it's necessary, especially with that program, to have that. You have to have those that, especially I think now more than ever in the age of NIL and transfer portal, where, you know, you're just going to get hired guns coming in because of how much money they're going to get, and really with nothing else. I think it's even more important to have guys, as you just described, maybe not the entirety of your program, but certainly you have to have them in your program if, to me, you're a team like IU.
Yeah, and I think that the fan base, it resonates with the fan base a lot too. You can feel it. You know, I was watching it from TV, and I could feel the love, you know, for Leal and Galloway coming through, and even Goody coming through the TV a little bit. You know, the cheers were just a little bit louder. The thank you, from the fans to the player when they're 3 or 4 or 5 year players is different, and it should, and expectedly. I mean, it really should be that way. A transfer that's in for a year, maybe 2, versus a kid they saw come in, or maybe they followed as a high school kid in Indiana, and watching him, just Galloway and Leal, you know, that's their 5th year, their 5th senior night that they're a part of. Well, that's a long time, and the fans appreciate that stuff. So, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that our fan base wants more of that, not less of it.
So, Brian Evans on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you're going to go down and watch IU in Oregon coming up on Thursday. They'll get things started on Thursday at noon. And I don't know, did you have a chance to watch when those two teams met back in Eugene a couple of weeks ago?
I did. That was that late night game. I managed to watch that. Yes. It's hard to beat a team, back to back like that. We know that. It'll be interesting to see how we come out. I think what I've learned about this team is you're not sure what you're going to get. And if they play that more inspired basketball, like they want to go somewhere and do something, and I think there's been a collective sigh of relief. I think the pressure that was mounting with the booing and some of those really bad beatings that we were taking, that had to get tough on everybody, and just make it tough to breathe in the building. And so I don't know. I feel like since the announcement was made that Coach Woodson is not going to return, I think that brought a lot of comfort to all of them. And I feel like everybody's relaxed and playing a little more free-spirited and shooting the ball a little more free. Everything just looks a little bit easier since that took place. And again, I'm watching from my living room. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what it looks like to me.
It's funny, Brian, too. It seems to me, and winning will do this, but it seems to me that the way things have gone, and I know ultimately what matters the most is getting the next head coach right if you're Scott Dolson. But it did seem like that it calmed things. And now when you win some games, and even though this is nothing at the level of greatness that anybody wants, but you still calm things and you get some satisfaction for a program and dial down the anger for a program. Like, are people still kind of upset because they want it to be at a higher level? Sure. But for the most part, everybody seems to be, at least in this particular moment, as satisfied as they can be regarding this team, its program, and its outgoing head coach.
Yeah, I mean, when I think back to the middle of the season, it was pretty dark, pretty ugly. Again, the booing, the fire chants, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty bad. I know we talked about that. I've never seen that in my lifetime. By those fans that really care about the program. So in a pretty dark place to a pretty nice place in a short period of time, right? We know there's a new coach and a new beginning that's coming our way. Even though we don't know exactly what that looks like, we know it's coming. And we've got a team that's playing a little more inspired basketball and a team that is, I think, going to play in the postseason. So, yeah, in a short period of time, that's a big difference. And credit to all of those people for keeping their head down and not giving up and grinding, because they still won games, right? It's not easy to get in the NCAA tournament, so they've seems like they've pulled it off. I could be wrong here. I feel like they've solidified their bid. I guess we won't know till Sunday night. And if they get a win against Oregon, then for sure they're in. And next thing you know, they're not one of the very top seeds. They're going to get in there. Hopefully we're not the play-in game. We'll see. But I do feel like the fan base has definitely calmed down, and just excited to see how we finish here.
So Brian Evans on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we have heard about interests in the next head coach, and some of those names now have decided to solidify either where they are or maintain they have no interest in the gig. You have anybody in mind that you would like to see as the next head coach down there?
Not really. Nothing, no one that really jumps out that I'm super excited about. I mean, I'm excited because I think we're going to get a massive upgrade regardless. So I am excited about the upgrade. I don't have anyone in particular that really jumps off the page at me like this would be the next guy. I think there's several coaches out there that I don't know a heck of a lot about that could probably do a great job. I think we just got to put a ton of trust into Scott Dolson that he's doing all the homework. It's not my job, it's his job. So I don't know who the perfect hire would be. And you could drive yourself crazy paying attention to all the rumors. My phone is hysterical. How many times people call me or text me and ask me if I've heard of, the latest and who's in town or who Scott Dolson's visited. I mean, I have I think it's all crap. I would think at this point in time, he could run a clean search without getting a whole bunch of names involved. I'm hopeful that he's got his guy and that he's picked a guy that it's dying for this job, that we're not reaching for the stars and trying to overpay somebody to come and take the job. I hope there's that guy out there, the Curt Cignetti, that's dying for this job. It's the job of his dreams, and he wants to prove it. And I just hope that guy's out there and that we get him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have targeted a guy that's Cignetti-like with Ben McCollum at Drake after one season there, and then at a lower level, I think it was Northwest Missouri, and he brought three of his own players, and they win the Mo Valley. However, I want to remind people, and nothing against that guy whatsoever. He's been established for one season there as a really good coach, but they were winning before he got there, too. That is a program that not only wins within its conference, but also here in recent history wins at a very high clip nationally. So it's maybe not – I guess you can make, I think, some connections and some relatables there, but it may not be as easy to slot both very similar as one might suggest.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. That's not I know that name because everybody's saying it now, but I just don't know. That's not my job. I haven't done any due diligence. I see the record, and just as a casual fan, it's impressive. But to your point, they've been pretty solid before he got there. He won at a really high level, whether that was Division II or NAIA, wherever he came from. As a fan, it's real easy to, if we hire a guy like him, to be really excited about it, and then just be able to blast Scott Dolson if it doesn't turn out well, right? You sit there and you go, well, why would you go with the, kind of the just above mid-major guy? Didn't we already do that with Archie? And I don't want to be a career negative fan, right? I never have been. I've been just a diehard Indiana guy. This has been the toughest stretch of my, of the years that I've watched Indiana basketball. These last four have been really tough. And I'm just really excited. I'm going to get my 13-year-old son a new pair of candy stripes. We're going to go back to being diehard fans, regardless of who's coaching the team. I can't wait.
That's Brian Evans with us. Going to go purchase some new. You have to purchase those, right? Do they send them to you, or are you off the sending you candy stripe pants list?
I never had a pair of candy stripes sent to me. I earned a pair, and they were sitting in the locker. And I mean, you and I talked about it, one of the greatest days of my life when I that first inter squad game when I saw my candy stripes. But no, that was. They always took back our stuff. We played by the rules back then. They used to have NCAA rules back in those days.
We got no rules anymore. It's whatever you want to do.
There's no rules now. No, whatever they gave us back then, Coach took back away from us. So I don't have a pair, and certainly they wouldn't fit me anymore if I had them. So I need to get a pair. I need to find some. That'd be.
Well, they sell them. You sell them everywhere. It sounds like you're going to have to drop some cash.
That's right. That's right. I'm a booster. I will count myself as a booster if I buy a pair of candy stripes.
You absolutely are a booster. So you're going to go down on Wednesday, huh?
Thursday.
Is it Thursday? Yeah, I'm sorry. Wednesday's the first round. Yeah, Thursday at noon. I'm sorry.
Yep, Thursday at noon. I'm going to be down there.
All right. Hey, Boilermakers, I believe, have lost 5 of their last 7. Couple of wins in there with UCLA and Rutgers. And then obviously at Illinois on Friday was disappointing how that thing ended down the stretch. Some thoughts on Matt's team that you've witnessed here recently.
Well, his team has completely fallen apart. So I'm going to come back to you and ask you, do we have a chance to hire Matt? Remember, you were going to reach out to him.
Yeah, probably not. Well, I'll talk to him on Wednesday. Do you want me to ask him? I'm sure he'll
Please.
feel really comfortable with that question.
It's a fair question. Just tell him Dutch wants to know. But then
Do you
don't
really
tell him
think
I'm
that's
Dutch.
a fair question, though?
No.
No. You just kind of want to hang me out to dry is the way that it sounds right here.
Well, I just think the best in the business ask the tough questions.
I'm still trying to get with this Dutch thing because last time we talked, it was brand new to me. So I'm just trying to. Does he know you as Dutch?
No, that's why I said tell him Dutch wants to know, and then don't tell you can't tell him I'm Dutch.
It's a hell of a plan you got.
It's pretty good.
Well, I do know this, and I know that he knows this as well, how much you feel he is as a head coach, regardless of where he is, and certainly in West Lafayette.
Well, we do. I mean, he is, and they are going through a tough stretch, and it'll be interesting to see. I feel like with that team, we've seen them play better, right?
Yeah.
Earlier in the year, when they play stingy defense, it changes everything. When they got easy to score on inside there for a while, right? I mean, that's at least the games I was watching. They were just getting beat at the rim, and Michigan State throws a lot of lobs at the rim. They've got the personnel to do that. We did it quite a bit against them as well. So if they can shore that, it's a long season. You go through little dry spots, and I mean that was definitely the worst basketball they've played in a while, in years. But it's still really solid personnel. We'll see if they can kind of this tournament would be interesting. If they could go on a run in our tournament, I feel like they could go on a run in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like that they have just been struggling to get, especially late in some of these losses, late stops, things of that nature, and sometimes turning the basketball over. And everybody loves to talk about the live ball turnover. You can't say turnover now without suggesting live ball turnover. Did you guys use the term live ball turnovers in the 90s?
No, that's the first I've ever heard it used.
They use it all the any turnover now. It's live ball turnovers. I mean, it just can't be a turnover. Like to me, it's just it's a live ball turnover now.
Hey, well, let me ask you this,
Yeah,
because I hear it all the time on Sports Talk. Narratives. Where did they come from? And there never used to be any narratives.
I never used that word
every day, all day.
I hate that word.
Why is that?
I think it's overused and it sucks. I hate it. I don't use it. Seriously,
well,
people will tell you that I don't use that word because I hate it. Because I always thought that's a word that you used when you're trying to sound smart. And believe me, the time has long passed for me to try to sound smart. So I just kind of go with what I know.
But how many dead ball turnovers are there? Tell me, what's a dead ball turnover? I don't even.
I just say
if
turnover.
You can define that.
Yeah, I just say turnover.
If you can define dead ball turnover, then maybe we can start using live ball turnover.
You hear it all the time, don't you? On broadcast?
Dude, I have to be honest with you. I've got it turned. I'm getting old, man, and I've noticed the older I get, the more I turn down the noise. My volume's on pretty low. I don't really care what they have to say. I think it all started years ago. There was an announcer that started doing a lot of the games, and it just made me sick to listen to him, and I turned down the volume, and I've never turned it back up.
You want to hear some nerdery before I let you go here? You ready?
Yeah.
Live ball turnovers lead to a little over a point per possession more than dead ball turnovers do.
Huh. Well, because you're like, if you wait a minute, I still don't know what a dead ball turnover is. Would a foul be considered a dead ball turnover? Like if you foul the other team,
dead ball turnovers is like throwing it out of bounds, and it results in an inbounds. When you have to inbound it, that's a dead ball turnover.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you throw
when you steal it with a live ball turnover is when you throw it to the other team and they go the other direction and score.
Well, yeah, those are worse. I mean, I don't know who these geniuses are, but yeah, those are worse.
See, that's why people have us on right now. They want to hear the difference between live ball and dead ball turnovers. That's what they want to hear.
It's such a crappy narrative.
See? I don't use that, nor, and James, my producer, can attest to this, I don't use the reference Mount Rushmore of, because I hate that too. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do too. Well, you and I, man, I'm telling you, I don't like that either.
You got it. We're on the same page, man. We are. You were just, we're on the same page with basketball too. You were just a lot better than me. I mean, a lot better.
But you know what? There's no question.
I bet I'm better than you. I bet I'm better than you right now, though.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say, and I don't appreciate you saying that. And I think it's pretty bold of you to suggest that you're better than me right now.
I feel
we'll
confident.
Never know.
I feel confident I'm better than you right now.
You're so slim. I mean, listen, you definitely beat me in a road race. Okay.
Man, this is why we have you on right here for this entertainment.
But if you're talking about a shooting contest,
I feel good about it.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I feel good about it. I do.
Like 10 threes from the top of the key, you against me?
Yeah, we can go NBA 3 too. That's okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I have that range, but I mean, I've heard about the new you.
Yes.
And you talk about the new you.
I have sprouted a new me.
It's a little intimidating.
One of these days, you and I just together, and nobody will ever know until I tell everybody. If I win, I'm not going to tell anybody if you beat my ass. So yeah.
What? I tell you what, I would go into this shooting contest knowing that if I didn't pull through, that everybody would know. So I mean, I'd be focused. I
know you would. I know. One of these days we'll do it. Hey, I'll look for you here downtown this weekend too. Tell me where you're going to be, and I'll try to seek you out. Okay.
That sounds good.
Good to talk with you, buddy.
Same, pal. See you later.
Brian Evans, the former Big Ten Player of the Year. I feel good where I am right now at 55, James. I missed my window of opportunity by about 5 decades. Unfortunately.
Just that close.
Just that close. Anything new free agency-wise, Colts?
Not with the Colts. I just saw, where did that go? The Chargers and cornerback Dante Jackson are agreeing to a 2-year, $13 million deal, but I do not see anything on the Colts.
We'll keep you updated. The Colts did make a move today in free agency. If you missed that, well, on the other side, I'll have that once again for you. Stephen Holder goes even more in-depth coming up after 5. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
was in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Now I got tickets to give away a little bit later on. Pivot tomorrow. The second floor balcony of the Hyatt House will be our location. And the weather is supposed to be fantastic. Remember, that's the second of the back-to-back. The Pacers on the road in Chicago tonight, back at home tomorrow night against the Bucks. And stop by if you're going to the game or if you want to go hang out. Make sure you join us at Pivot. That's tomorrow beginning at 3. I cannot wait to see you there. Kevin writes, I didn't know you could grill cottage cheese. There's probably a way you can grill anything, but I will tell you this. There is a great deal of protein in what I eat, and it'll be Salmon City later on tonight. And I'll try really hard not to jack it up like I normally do. And I am just glad that we're back. I'm glad that we're back with this way. And I know that it'll probably go haywire again, but this is a feel-good week that we're going through right now, is it not? I mean, it's great, too. You got everything going on downtown. As I mentioned, the Pacers tomorrow. We'll be down there outside to get the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Oh, that's all good. Brad King says, I love listening to you on the radio, but not a chance you beat Brian Evans in a shooting contest. We'll see about that. No, you're probably right. You know, when I brought up Brent McCollum, I probably didn't give Drake, and Greg pointed this out to me, I probably didn't give Drake and the job that he did enough credit. I think it goes without saying that bringing in his own players and starting new in the Mo Valley, it was a hell of an accomplishment. I think in my description of Ben McCollum, I'm not trying to take away how good he is as a coach. I just wanted to explain how good and high level of a program Drake is. So they normally win regardless. And who's to say if they bring in somebody else, they probably don't get those same results. But I was comparing it to, and taking nothing away from it, I was comparing it to how, for example, Dayton is described out of the A-10. It's just a really strong basketball program. But it did sound like I was taking something away from him, and I'm not whatsoever. It'd be great. I mean, you can see that his guys respond to what he does, how he's coached. And he just kind of, picked up and takes this program back to the tournament as it has been the past couple of years. But it certainly is. It is a mid-major program. And what I mean by that is a high-level, top-notch mid-major. And that's a good thing. So make sure I clarify that. JMV, I'm happy to hear this isn't Ross Porter, the Dodgers announcer for 28 years, 77 through 2004. Nope. His name is Reed. I messed that one up. Would you also give a shout-out to UCLA's women's basketball championship over USC yesterday? That was a very good game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Watched that a little bit yesterday. I watched our friend Dusty May not have a good go of it whatsoever, and East Lansing losing to Michigan State. If there is a team that's not going in the right direction, that's it. Yeah, mid-major plus. Thank you very much. I'm trying, because I'm a mid-major guy, so I don't want to hand out the backhanded compliments on this. Mid-major plus. But no, I watched the whole Michigan State game yesterday. That's pretty ugly. At least for Michigan it was. And Michigan is not a team that is going into the conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament on what you would like to call a high note. Cam Bynum, Viking safety. Durable, good, 4 years, $60 million. That is the work the Colts have done so far. Now, they also brought back Braden Smith, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com, at a smaller, more reasonable price tag. But that is the work that they have done so far. Dio Adengbo has been scooped up in free agency by the Bears. They also got Grady Jarrett, so the Bears are working on their defensive line right there. We shall continue to follow that, and we'll talk to Stephen Holder coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. You're asking about quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, last check, still available? Correct?
Last checked, according to Josina Anderson on X, leak source on Daniel Jones, quote, think he's still trying to make a decision on where he wants to go.
I'm just sitting back with bated breath waiting on Daniel Jones and his decision. Where can I go? What would best benefit me? I'm Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. What an incredibly crappy place for the Colts to be in, if indeed, let's just say we don't truly know, but let's just guess. If you sit back and you're waiting on a decision from Daniel Jones, great.
It is kind of like the great value version of the decision by LeBron from all those years ago.
That just seems like just another nut kick to me right there. Right? We're just sitting back and waiting on Daniel Jones to decide. Seriously, that is a level, again, to describe to you most accurately where this whole thing is right now. I don't know if the Colts are waiting on a decision from Daniel Jones, but the world evidently is, the world of the NFL. Justin Fields to the Jets, Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, Jimmy Garoppolo back to the Rams. Laramie Tunsil traded by the Texans to the Commanders. The Commanders doing a ton of work. And apparently there are teams out there waiting on a decision from Daniel Jones. Wonderful. I hope that excites you as much as it excites me. And again, don't get the whole competition thing twisted anymore either. Pacers, Bulls later on tonight. I do have to get back to that. This weekend, really Thursday and Saturday, is not any good whatsoever. Seriously, when he plays, especially at that level, really any level, but at that level, that is life that this team has without the orchestrator. It is. Absolutely is. And you watched that before, especially on Saturday. We'll talk about that. Bulls, Pacers coming up later on tonight, second of a back-to-back. I don't know if I should be more worried about the way that they look without him or the fact that I'm concerned they may spend a lot of time without him here coming up down the stretch of the regular season. Hopefully that second part's inaccurate. We'll get into that. Stephen Holder, top of the hour. Sit tight right there if you're on hold at 239-1070. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Sis boom ba. Describe the sound made when a sheep explodes.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, number 9 at 239-1070. The Offspring going to be at Ruoff Music Center July the 26th. That's on a Saturday. The band from Huntington Beach, California. What's the guy's lead name? Dexter? Is that his name? Dexter.
That sounds right.
Dexter at lead for the Offspring right there. You got to keep them separated. I believe they have a Dexter and a Noodles in the band. And not like Craig Noodles Neal from Washington, Indiana. Not the Noodler. The Offspring, number 9 at 239-1070. Thank you, Live Nation, for the ticket giveaways as always. Again, that show, tickets available, but that show, the 26th of July, on a Saturday night at Ruoff Music Center. The Offspring, tickets available now and available for somebody to win at number 9 at 239-1070. Cam Bynum, safety, formerly of the Vikings, now in with the Colts. 4 for 60 is the deal. We'll discuss that and then some with Stephen Holder coming up here at the top of the hour. All right, 239-1070. James, give me Jeremiah on line 2, who's been hanging out for a minute. Jeremiah, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, JMV, thanks for taking my call, buddy.
You got it, man.
So you opened the show up talking about Tyrese Halliburton and how bad the Pacers really missed him, and it was apparent. But I guess the thing is if you have him, and I'm saying speculation, in a trade scenario, wouldn't you find someone that is going to be reciprocal, that could still bring something to the team where he fills that void, especially on the defensive end? I know you've seen and heard me talk about my frustrations, but he's inconsistent this year, which I'm worried that may be injury related. And what we looked at in the future, as much as we paid for him, or I should say the Pacers, where are we going down the road? Is there going to be a problem with his performance and the lack thereof of his availability?
No, I share your concern because honestly, I thought that he may not play in some of these back-to-backs they have coming up to round out the end of the regular season. And, they're not playing back-to-backs once the postseason is underway. But when he missed Thursday to Saturday this past week, that is a warning bell to me. Right. And I guess we'll find out about Chicago tonight and then with the Bucks. But I want to see them position themselves the best they can, which, obviously it's meaningful to try to get up to number 4, but they don't have the chance in hell if he's not going to be available most of, if not all, of this time. And, I'm right there with a higher level of concern, certainly than I did a week or two ago.
Right. And for that stretch, he was looking pretty good and pretty healthy. And then now we've got this lapse that is kind of a concern that, and the absence of, we heard how long TJ McConnell's going to be out by chance.
I don't know. I haven't heard. I think they'll probably 5:30 or so. Well, what time is that tip tonight? Is that 8 o'clock, James?
It is an 8 o'clock tip.
So that's an 8 o'clock tip. So it'll probably be 6:30. I may be off the air by the time we find out anything.
Right.
Because it's a later start than normal. Normally I get something around 5:15, 5:30, but it may be once I'm off the air when that information falls.
So more importantly, my last question for you is, where are you going to be on St. Patty's Day?
St. Patrick's Day. Well, we got to figure that out. Yes.
Yeah, because Melissa and I are going to be downtown, and we got to know where you're at so we can drop in and say hi.
You got it, and I want you guys to come by tomorrow, Pivot, if you can, okay?
I'm going to try.
Right.
I can't make any guarantees, but
I understand.
Definitely got to figure out what you're doing on St. Patty's Day because, that's the firefighters' Christmas, basically.
Yes, it is. You got it. Hey, Jeremiah, tell Melissa I said hello too.
Will do, my brother. Appreciate you.
St. Patrick's Day. Let's discuss that. We'll do it, but we got to get right with free agency. The Colts moves so far. What else could be coming up? and a lot more for you. Also, Pantera tickets in the 5 o'clock hour. And our road show tomorrow. Got a lot to talk about 5 o'clock hour. Stephen Holder kicks it off with us next.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Brian Evans, the former Big Ten Player of the Year, the NBAer, former Hoosier a little bit earlier. So Thursday at noon, you have IU and Oregon. Big Ten tournament, and Purdue awaits later on that evening the winner of the Wednesday matchup with USC and Rutgers. Matt Painter's going to join us coming up on Wednesday. We'll talk to Matt, Dusty May later on this week, the head coach in Michigan, as we get set for the Big Ten Conference Tournament at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I did want to mention, and we'll get into more of this tomorrow with Greg Rakestraw, Bob Lovell later on this week, a shout-out to all the sectional champions throughout the state of Indiana. There were some tremendous moments over the weekend. Kyle Neddenrip of the Star, who's on this show often, has a son that came off the bench and with a made three sent the sectional matchup with Brownsburg into double overtime, I believe, with Ben Davis, and Brownsburg ultimately wins. And there's nobody better at what he does than Kyle. That's awesome. Shout out to Mount Vernon, getting by Greenfield Central. So you get Mount Vernon and Brownsburg at Southport and Mooresville and Lawrence North. How about Mooresville as well? Shout out to Whiteland. They head to Washington and take on Terre Haute North. I know I'm going to miss some right here. I apologize. I'll get everybody. Obviously, Fishers, without question. They go to Frankfort to take on Harrison. New Pal and Greenfield versus Guerin Catholic. How about Addicts and Northview? That's a hell of a matchup in Lebanon right there. Just going to eyeball this as we go down the list. Tipton and Manchester, Logansport. Park Heritage to the far west of us down in Martinsville. And Triton Central. Regional versus University in Lebanon. Here's one. 43 years. Clinton Prairie with a sectional title. They're in Frankfort versus Lafayette Central Catholic. Indianapolis Lutheran and Hauser. That's awesome right there. Down in Martinsville. So hopefully I didn't miss you, but a lot of incredible stories, as we normally see in sectional play, sectional titles, and the regionals coming up this weekend. Greg Rakestraw with that and more joining us tomorrow. Meantime, with the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, ESPN, ESPN.com. It is Stephen Holder. So what do you know about Cam Bynum coming over from the Vikings, 4 years and $60 million? We knew there would probably be some big money spent on the secondary. Is this one of one, or will there be more additions to that roster coming up in the defensive secondary for the Colts?
I think there could be more. We'll see. But as to the first question, what I think about this, I think it's very notable. And if you are looking for the new Chris Ballard, okay? I'm not saying this is a franchise-changing move, okay? I'm not going to oversell this, but if you're looking for indications that he's going about things a little differently, this is a big indication, okay? Take it for what it is, and I think it's at least that, because you have never seen this man do this, okay? Absolutely never seen him do this. He has drafted a couple of safeties, with early draft picks, which is resources, and that counts. But you have never seen Chris Ballard, the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts, go out there and give a safety a $60 million contract, or any defensive back for that matter. I mean, that is different, okay? That tells us something. Now, it's not enough, and it doesn't mean they're on a path to the playoffs all of a sudden. All I'm saying is that is a very big indicator for me Now it boils down to, all right, what else do you have in this plan of his, and can you execute it?
So Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So for 60, Braden Smith is a restructure. I don't know if we know the terms financially of that. Do you?
Terms. Yeah, I don't have those terms yet. It's been weird. Everybody's been weird about that. I don't know. But I think it was they had one or two choices there, right? There was the option of keeping him at a $19 million cap number, in my opinion, was not an option. So I thought the two options were cut him or restructure the deal. You could cut him with minimal dead money on the salary cap. That would have been doable and really would not have hurt them. But then you got to find the right tackle, right? And it creates a hole. So if there was a way to find a way to, find a number that both sides could live with, then that was also an alternative. For me, the big question was, it was not just that. It was also, okay, this guy ended the season on the non-football injury list. He was not available. We were never, ever told what the heck was wrong with him. We had no idea. I still don't. What I can tell you, though, is that I've been told in no uncertain terms that whatever was going on, he is now beyond that. So he's ready to play football. And I think the only question now would be, how is he physically with the knee situation that he's battled, the last few years. I thought he was fine when he played this year. I thought he was fine. So if the number is a workable number that they settled on, I think this is a good deal for everybody. Look, you don't want to go creating more problems. And the Colts, particularly with Ryan Kelly's situation being unsettled, I mean, Will Fries is a free agent. I'm sure we'll get into that. I got some info on that. You were in a situation where you could have a lot of upheaval on this offensive line, and that's never good. So if you can have continuity on the offensive line, try to get that done, and this at least gets them closer to that.
He is Stephen Holder of ESPN talking Colts and NFL free agency on this first Monday of it, and there's a lot of info coming in. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned the guard position and Will Fries. Aaron Banks goes from the Niners to the Packers, 4 years and $77 million. You also mentioned you had some intel regarding Fries and his position right now and what I guess where he might be as far as it's concerned. So I want to set the table for you. Where are we going with this?
So I think this is kind of how I thought it might play out. The Colts often, even with their own free agents, they will let the dust kind of settle and then make up their minds. So you haven't seen any news let me rephrase that. You've seen a lot of teams out there the last few days in particular, re-signing their own guys and doing these huge extensions, even the Myles Garrett extension yesterday, for example, but we've seen many, many others, correct, right? So the Colts didn't do that. And what that tells me is they don't know what the number is. And so what they're doing now is what I suspected they might do, which is they're allowing him to go out there and talk to other teams. You kind of let the other teams do the negotiating for you. So once he goes out there and finds out what his price is, the expectation is he'll come back to the Colts and see if they want to, make their own offer or revise their offer if they made one or what have you. So they're not out of it. They're still interested. He's a good player. They like him. They struggled without him last year. Okay, so I think that spoke to his value. And so I would say don't close the door on that just yet. But I do think he's going to get a pretty rich contract. So they're going to have their work cut out for them when it comes to retaining him.
Do you compare what Banks got from the Packers and consider that to how that may ultimately affect Fries?
Right. I mean, that's looking at it. I mean, that's almost $20 million a year. I don't know that it comes in that high. Me and my colleagues were hearing a number closer to like 15 a year, as opposed to this one, which I think is like 19-ish, 18, 19 a year, the Banks contract. So 15-ish is what we have been hearing heading into free agency. But, I would say it is definitely fluid, but we will see. I thought Dio Adengbo, which I'm sure we can get into as well, he's going to Chicago. I thought that number would be higher. He is going to end up around 16, which ended up being what I heard this afternoon before that deal happened, and that was right on the number. I was thinking that was going to be 20 plus. So you never know with these things, so you got to let them play out.
So what's plan B without Fries, for example? There are a lot of things, a lot of variables, and we'll get into those in a second. But because I thought, am I wrong? Did Ballard not mention Bortolini in terms of playing a guard position, or did I dream that at the combine of that presser? I was on the air at the time, but I thought I caught maybe him mention something like that. Is that a consideration, or is it somebody else at this point? Where would they go if Fries is not the guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember whether he said it or not.
Maybe I dreamt it. I thought he did.
No, I don't remember, to be completely honest. But I would say this: that is definitely something that is on the table for sure. I mean, it would have to be, frankly. So the problem, though, then becomes, are you moving on from Ryan Kelly? And if so, what does that mean when it comes to Bortolini? Does he have to then become your center? And if so, then you have a void at right guard. And so that's the question for me. It becomes a puzzle. It is a puzzle right now. And so at this particular moment, the only thing we know is that Braden Smith is the right tackle. We don't know who the center is. We don't know who the right guard is. And so it's day one and long way to go. But those are big questions that got to be resolved before they move forward. That right guard spot, I think it's important that people remember, just how difficult it was for them to find some consistency there last year after the injury to Will Fries. Okay, if you recall, I mean, they had to go get Mark Lewinsky off the couch. Okay, off the couch. In I think week, 13-ish, something like that. So that's desperation, man. And so they've got to figure that out. If they end up having to play Bortolini at center, permanently, you have a big void there at right guard. And they may have to spend some money to fix that.
What's the threshold or the ceiling, if you will, on how much you think that they would give Will Fries to bring him back?
It's a great question. I would say, I don't know what the number is, but I would put it this way. Look, Chris Ballard has shown there's a handful of spots where he doesn't mind spending big money. The offensive line is certainly among them. Defensive line too. The question becomes, though, you've already got 20, 21 million a year tied up in Quentin Nelson. You're about to pay Bernard Raymond within the next year. They haven't started any talks yet, but that could come as early as this offseason. Otherwise, it's happening next offseason, and that's going to be a huge number just because of the nature of that position, left tackle. And so they have a lot of moving pieces there that they've got to think about in the long and short term. Braden Smith, even at right tackle, I mean, that's a short-term solution. He's the right tackle for this year, but you've also got to address that in the long term. So I don't know. I guess the question is, how much is too much to commit to right now when you've got other obligations? But it would definitely resolve a problem for the long term. I mean, Will Fries is really young. He's an ascending player. It takes care of that position right off the bat and makes it not an issue for them moving forward. And there's a lot to be said for that. So can they do it? Yes, they can do it. Whatever that number ends up being, they can do it. The question is whether it's prudent and what will it come at the expense of.
This is just a little bit of curiosity because you're talking about putting together a puzzle. Had it not been Braden Smith, could you not have had Gonzalez? I mean, he's a third rounder. So,
sure.
I mean, play right tackle, and then you focus in that cash on Fries. I mean, are we considering any of this because of the move they're making to maintain Braden Smith as a part of this team, at least for next year?
Well, I mean, before we knew what the fate of Braden Smith was going to be, I thought that was for sure that would be plan B, right? You know, you play Gonsalves there, or at least he's the competitor. He's in competition for that job, right? You know, maybe you add somebody else and you let them compete, right? I thought that's the way that might go. But, you know, let's see what the number is on Braden Smith if we can ever get some clarity on that. It might just have made too much sense. You also got to think about depth, too. Their offensive line depth was okay last year, but when it took a couple of hits, you started to see how thin it became. And you're never that far away. You're 1 or 2 injuries away from being in a world of hurt. And so they also got to think about depth. And Gonsalves gives them good depth. Gonsalves and frankly, Bortolini as well gave them great depth. But when they were called upon to fill in, that depth eroded pretty substantially, and it was problematic for them. So there you go, back to that puzzle again, right? It is just that.
It's Stephen Holder of ESPN, ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So there were reports that Daniel Jones, the quarterback, is weighing options. Would the Colts be one of those options that he is presently weighing?
Yeah, we've consistently heard his top two destinations, or likeliest destinations, were staying in Minnesota and in Indianapolis. And every report seems to reflect that even now. So I know Adam Schefter was reflecting that a little bit ago as well. So, I mean, that's what I was hearing over the weekend. We continue to hear that now. I don't have clarity on where they stand or what they want to spend on him. That's really going to be the question. And I think they needed some of this quarterback stuff to settle before you could, before anybody really could have any clarity on what you've got to pay Daniel Jones. So we're starting to see those dominoes now. I think the Darnold domino needed to fall. We saw Justin Fields, so there's clarity there. Aaron Rodgers, we'll see what happens there, but I don't think that affects the Colts really that significantly because they're not in the starting quarterback market per se. They're in the kind of a backup plus market, right? So I think those are if you're Daniel Jones, you got to think about this. I mean, let's say all things being equal, I mean, what do you prefer as an option? Both teams have used, and I'm talking about the Colts and Vikings, both teams have used high draft picks on the incumbent quarterbacks. So that's always a factor. But McCarthy hasn't had a chance to screw it up like Anthony has, though, here in Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson. So McCarthy, he's going to get a lot of benefit of the doubt right now, you would think. And he had a good preseason from all indications before he got hurt. A good camp, a good preseason last year. So they're high on him, right? Anthony Richardson's status feels shakier, even though J.J. McCarthy has not played. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is if you're Daniel Jones, how do you square all that? Do you think you have a better odds of playing here or in Minnesota? I think when you factor in the injury history for Richardson, tough as that is to swallow, it's a real thing. And then his status with the team, which is telling us publicly that they want somebody to compete with him, I'd say you have a better chance of playing here, to be completely honest. So then you factor in the money, and we'll see where it goes. But this would have to be appealing to Daniel Jones. You'd have to think it would be.
Do you think at all the Colts are disappointed in what transpired with Justin Fields?
I would say they probably aren't surprised by it. So disappointed, probably not, because it was probably somewhat expected. I always thought that somebody would give Justin Fields a shot. I don't know if he's the guy, but he's going to have an opportunity to be the guy with this deal they gave him. I guess, it's one of those deals, like it's a 2-year deal, but if he's terrible, you'll cut him and move on after this year, right? And if he's good, then you got to steal. You got a $10 million starting quarterback, which in today's league is pretty good. So I think the Colts have usually been pretty dialed in on this stuff in terms of anticipating, what's going to happen out there. And if they were surprised by this, that would surprise me. So I don't think they were disappointed as much as just it is what it is. And this is the other thing too, relatedly. I always felt like Chris Ballard talking at length about their intentions here at quarterback. I always thought this was kind of a little bit silly in this regard. They were never really going to get some truly impactful quarterback. That was never going to happen, man. And I just wondered, what was even the point of going through all this? You set yourself up, and kind of pin yourself into a corner here, where there's some expectation of a real quarterback move when there was never going to be one because you don't have much to offer, So I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about here the last couple of years.
I say this all the time about it. The fan base, I think what you do is you've gauged the pulse of the fan base and you talk about positional competition of which you felt you were short-sighted on a year ago.
Right.
And what is the most prominent position on any team in the NFL, and certainly this one with the most focus, it's quarterback. And I think you say that and, think you have this impact and you calm down the fan base. And they go, oh, okay, now you're going to bring somebody in. And you know what? They're still thinking about it. You're just not entitling or anointing because that, in truth, you go back to last season, and for the 2 weeks in which he was benched, that was most of the reason why they suggested he was benched. They don't want him, the fan base to think he's entitled and just kind of giving the gig when really he was. So I don't know. It's all silly to me, to be honest, because we know the situation. Had this not been with Anthony Richardson, the situation, they would have wiped the slate clean and gone Seattle Seahawks completely different direction going into this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if they would maybe go the Jacoby Brissett route where, he started that year and they decided, okay, he's not the guy. And they went and got Phillip Rivers and they were very decisive right out of the gate. They signed him and it was done. Right. I think that's a fair point. That is a fair point. If you're shaky, if you're unsure, then maybe you need to be thinking about doing that, and I think here, it is a little bit different. You have a young quarterback still growing, learning, finding himself. And then you have this upside that he has that he may or may never tap into, but he definitely has substantial upside. So it's a little different, but they're wavering at best. They are wavering, right? So we should not be having this conversation in a perfect world, but here we are.
That's Cam Bynum so far. Again, 4 for 60.
I like that signing.
Yeah,
I do like that signing. I want to just impress that upon people. Look, I don't know if he's going to be Ronnie Lott or anything. He's not that kind of player. But, he's not Kyle Hamilton, okay? However, I would say a veteran guy in this system with Lou Anarumo, I think that's what you want. You want a veteran guy back there. Maybe he can find a way to make him into Jesse Bates, right? Maybe. We'll see. But I like the signing. That's a good start.
Yeah, 96 tackles, 3 interceptions, 26 years of age, and maybe most importantly has been incredibly durable and has played the entirety of the time. So that's key.
Yeah. Look, what's been the hallmark of this secondary for 5 years has been everybody getting hurt. Okay? Let's be frank. Okay? And I'm talking about Julian Blackmon in particular, who I think could be a really good player if he could ever stay healthy. He clearly cannot. Okay? And I don't say that with any glee. Just it is what it is, right? He has not stayed healthy. He played last year, but he had a torn labrum the whole season. And he played like it, frankly. You could tell. So here's a guy who has not missed a game in the last 3 seasons, not one game, and very few snaps even. So I love that, and I think it's definitely a turn in the right direction.
So Stephen Holder, ESPN on ESPN.com. You can keep track of what he's talking about with the Colts and free agency and the rest of the NFL. Per usual, Stephen is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I appreciate you jumping on what is a busy day, at least, so I guess kind of busy day so far. So we'll see if it gets any more busy at some point, yeah.
Yeah, busy. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
what it is.
exactly.
That's free agency. Hurry up and wait.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, you got it.
Stephen Holder of ESPN, ESPN.com, and the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He seemed kind of positive that Daniel Jones could end up here. He didn't say that, but as far as weighing options. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll close out the show, final 30, with discussion on that and then some. Do not go anywhere. Pantera tickets we shall give away before 6 o'clock as well. And your calls at 239-1070. It's next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Your support. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Cam Bynum from the Vikings, 4 years, $60 million. That is a safety. I guess the heir apparent to the position of Julian Blackman right there. Dio Adengbo with the Bears. And Braden Smith decides to redo his deal. Will Fry still kind of floating around out there. You kind of wonder if maybe his price tag is going to be too expensive. We shall see. Stephen Holder, podcast 1075thefan.com about that and the decision Daniel Jones will make as to where he wants to be a backup quarterback. Something hopefully we find out sooner rather than later. JMV at 1075thefan.com. JMV, I love the fact that you have the mindset like me. You want to see some results at this point. I'm tired of seeing all these other teams sign players and make trades, and the Colts do nothing. One signing today so far. Where's the urgency in year 9 for the general manager yet Irsay accepts this crap? Is there any hope? Alex, it's really all you have right now is hope. I'm at a point to where, and I'm not trying to pour cold water on any situation right now. The talk has been exhausted for me, and I'm not physically exhausted, but I'm tired of hearing about what's next and what you're going to do. Like, the action is what I'm looking for right now. All this other stuff, whatever. But I want to see the action. Fowler writes this: ownership should nix any quarterback deal. Chris and Shane have to win the division with AR or everyone is gone. I don't want a plan for when AR gets hurt. See, you have to have a plan when he gets. It's inevitable. That's not. You have to plan. I just maintain this, Fowler, that this is not legitimate competition for what you just said. But you have to have a backup plan because that's what you know. That's what you know. That it has occurred in the first 2 years, and in all likelihood, you're going to need a backup plan for injury again. I mean, you can complain that they've been negligent about a lot of things. This is one that you can. You have to bring somebody in. And again, I'm not going to describe it as competition. I'm going to describe it as, oh, hell, he's injured. Somebody else has to play. So you have to do that. 239-1070. Mike is in Brooklyn, New York, I'm assuming, with some Colts thoughts. Mike, what do you got?
Hey, JMV.
How you doing, buddy?
Listen, now that my Justin Fields bubble has burst, I'm just praying, please no Daniel Jones. I just that more. Can we at least get somebody with some upside? I know it's not going to move the needle, but can we make a trade for like Kenny Pickett or Hendon Hooker or somebody that we can at least we know what Daniel Jones is, and I understand the situation. You're bringing in a backup, but let's get somebody with at least some upside.
What about Jameis Winston at age 31 as a backup?
Negative. Hard pass on that.
What about Mac Jones at 26 as a backup? I know I'm tripping the light fantastic with all these names right here.
No. These guys, we know what they are. Even Marcus Mariota, we know what they are. I mean, so they are what they are. You know,
Tyler Huntley. What do you think about Tyler Huntley? He's only 27. Hell, I thought he was like 35.
Yeah, nope. I'll take a pass on him. How about the other people are suggesting the guy from the Packers, that Malik Willis.
Malik Willis.
I mean, look at all the improvement he can make just going up against the Colts defense in practice every day. Yeah.
You know, is Malik Willis? Is he a free agent for sure?
I don't think so. I think he's. I'm not sure. I think he's still under contract.
I think he is. I thought he was too, but I could be wrong about it. See, people are telling me Aiden O'Connell, but he's another one, I believe, that is still under contract for the Raiders, even though the Raiders brought in Geno Smith.
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, listen.
Hold on one second, Mike. James, go ahead.
Looks like Willis is in the final year of his rookie deal.
So there you go.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, Listen, am I way off base here? Because I have a little bit of a different take, from the consensus fans and, even the people covering the team. It's that Chris Ballard is, making all the decisions and with input from Steichen, and Jim Irsay just has a hands-off approach and he's not involved. You couldn't get me to believe that in a million years. I think Jim Irsay is involved in every decision, big or small. He's involved on a daily basis in consultation with Ballard. And in this particular situation this year, I think he's making the call on what the quarterback is going to be. And his statement Friday, which actually was good to hear from him.
Well, I will say this. I think the whole competition angle, I would probably trace that back to him right there. You know what I mean? I think hey, listen, I know this is the guy, but we've got to have some competition in here. So it wouldn't surprise me if that all kind of started, because, that just came out of kind of thin air here, too, whenever Ballard in that postseason presser mentioned that, he failed in putting together positional competition this past year. And I kind of wonder if, that whole start did not come from the Colts owner as far as quarterback competition. You're not just given this, you have to earn this. Even I think we all know the situation right now anyway.
Yep. Anthony, well, I know for a fact Irsay was definitely in on Anthony Richardson, and he was, but the thing is, if you want Daniel Jones, if you didn't like Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones is not going to move the needle for Irsay. And Irsay at his core, is a fan over the 50 years, because when you listen to him, I know everything, but he is a fan. Even when they did that, the Colts, covering the Colts, I seen him in his owner's box, and he's got his lucky hats and his, rituals on game day, pacing up and down. I'm doing the same thing as he is, so I got a kick out of him.
Charvarius Ward is another guy people have mentioned from the 49ers as a cornerback. 3 years, $60 million, $35 million guaranteed. $20 million signing bonus with the Colts. That has happened as we were conversing right there, according to Adam Schefter. So we kind of wondered if they weren't going to go heavy on the secondary with a lot of this, and that's what they've done.
Yeah, well, that was a move that I was definitely looking for. That specifically him. They need a number one corner.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at. I'm just praying it's not Daniel Jones. If they get me like a Kenny Pickett or somebody else that has some upside, Daniel Jones for me particularly is a nightmare, because my buddy's a Giants fan, and I've been just ragging on them for the past 5 years with this guy Danny Dimes. So now that I'm going to have to hear from them coming back if the Colts sign him. Stay in Minnesota. It's in his best interest to stay there.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike in Brooklyn, right there with that. So Ward gets $35 million guaranteed, $20 million signing bonus. This is according to Adam Schefter again. We'll go into the recent history right there. So quarterback and safety for the Colts so far. They are doing some late afternoon work. We'll get to that. Take your calls. Close out the show coming up next on the first day of NFL free agency, and the Colts doing work in that secondary. We'll rehash what they've done so far. Get back to you next.
him a second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And number 9 is going to go see Pantera on us. This gets James. This is like musical arousal for James right here.
Oh, yeah.
You going to play this at your wedding?
I would love to. Get a circle pit going in the reception.
What'd you call it? A what?
A circle pit.
A circle pit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
I mean, everyone runs in a circle and slams into each other.
I know of another circle thing. Is that similar?
I know what you're thinking. A circle is involved in that one.
It's also a bunch of dudes in that one too.
Yeah, more than likely. Now that you say it, there are a lot of similarities.
Number 9 at 239-1070 for Pantera. By the way, before you get the number 9, Charvarius Ward, cornerback of the Niners to the Colts, $60 million, $35 million guaranteed, $20 million signing bonus. That, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. What are the stats on Ward, James?
Looking like last year he started and played in 12 games for the 49ers. 7 passes defended, no interceptions, total career numbers, 10 total interceptions, 1 interception returned for a touchdown, 70 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles. Tackle-wise, 321 total tackles, 38 made last year, including 16 assisted tackles and 1 tackle for loss last season.
So Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum, the work in that secondary the Colts have done on the first day of free agency. 239-1070. Russ is up next on line 3. Hello, Russ.
Hey, good afternoon, JMV.
Great to hear from you, Russ. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple things related to competition. It's hard as a fan to understand how we are truly trying to compete if we are not investing in that backup quarterback spot. And second to that, I would just say if we're truly holding Ballard to his word, and now we're at a coin flip with Daniel Jones as being the true competition for Richardson, that's just got to be embarrassing for him.
It's not. It's not a real. It's not a real thing. You want to find a quality backup. But the whole competition thing, that's something to go, oh, okay, well, it's like they're making sure they hold the quarterback's feet to the fire. He's not entitled and all this stuff, as to the reasons why, for example, he was benched last year, according to them, whereas they thought Flacco could give them a better opportunity at those moments to win. But this is all for you to kind of take in and calm the waters, if you will. Because we know who's going to be starting, and we know it's going to be make or break for a lot of people, including who's going to be starting coming up this year. You're in search for a quality backup right now is what you're doing.
And you just want to hear, you want to hear that first reporter ask the question, whoever we sign, is this the competition you expected when you made the statement?
Yeah.
Frustrating as a fan.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, Russ. Anything else?
No, that's it, brother.
You got it. Charvarius Ward, cornerback from the Niners, signed by the Colts, and Cam Bynum, safety from the Vikings, signed by the Colts. By the way, restructuring Braden Smith, the right tackle, a little bit earlier today as well. Alex, next at 239-1070. Hello, Alex.
Hey, JMV, enjoy the show.
Thank you, brother.
My take is it might just be a little bit of much ado about nothing. I think, honestly, the one place or the one spot that would be good competition for Richardson is Fields. Yeah, that's not a great upgrade, but he did make some good progress last year, so he's got the legs.
Yeah, he is going to the Jets, so yeah, he is out of the question.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you don't have a lot. It's not a robust picture to look at as far as who would come in as a backup right there, Alex. Thank you for the call, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Bill is next. Hello, Billy.
Hey, JMV, looking forward to the show tomorrow.
Yes.
And if the weather's going to be anything like it is today and everything, it'll be a stellar day and a stellar show. But I wanted to talk about the Pacers a little bit. This is a very, very dangerous time for the Pacers because they're losing the teams that are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. The Bulls, I don't think Lonzo Ball's even going to play today, but if they drop this game today, even if Halliburton doesn't play or is limited, then I think they're in real trouble for the rest of the year. You know, the last quarter of the season, you know, you have to be playing your best basketball, and they're playing at their worst right now. And those two losses to Atlanta was just absolutely unforgivable.
Yeah. No, I listen, I completely agree with you on that too. And it was two brutal games to watch. Billy, am I going to see you tomorrow, right?
You betcha. I'll be there at 2:45.
You got that pivot tomorrow, downtown, Hyatt House, balcony, second floor. And by the way, Travarius Ward was a 2024 Pro Bowler, 23 pass breakups, and had to go through, I believe, he was the player that had the family issue that was awful, to say the least, right there, if you remember that accurately. He was unsure last year if he was going to return. He lost his 2-year-old daughter during the season a year ago. So if you're kind of wondering a little bit of the background, that is, you know, obviously the essential personal stuff that he had to go through a year ago. Free agency deal with the Colts. Had a Pro Bowl high-level corner season, for sure. JMV, how about the Colts find a way to help AR? Maybe his time with Josh Allen's coach will help. Listen, I don't care what it is at this point, Jeff. Hopefully something helps. Anything helps. I'm right there with you on that help. All right, tomorrow, pivot. Downtown at the Hyatt House. Who can make it? It's going to be spectacular. We'll be on the deck, the balcony, second floor. Awesome, right across Pennsylvania from Cambridge Fieldhouse. Pivot tomorrow with all of us. I want to thank Brian Evans for joining us. We talked Big Ten, IU, and Purdue, and IU coaching search with Brian, the former Big Ten Player of the Year, former Hoosier. Podcast 1075thefan.com. And Colts free agency. Travarius Ward, Cam Bynum so far in free agency. Stephen Holder had that. Podcast 1075thefan.com. More on that tomorrow. Pacers recap. Pacers Bulls tonight at 8. 7:30 coverage begins here on The Fan. We'll talk that up and get you set for the Pacers and the Bucks at the Fieldhouse tomorrow, too. Pivot right across Pennsylvania from the Fieldhouse. The Hyatt House with us beginning at 3 tomorrow. I'll see you then.